next thing we're going to talk about is simulating I/O. It's pretty straightforward for this. Right here in the outputs and for the inputs, you have this simulation column. Now you can actually simulate an I/O by going to that U and pressing simulate. Then you can turn on or off the value as you need to. When you are simulating the value, it is only changing the value as the robot sees it. For instance, right here, the PLC might be sending DI8 as off. If we simulate it to on, the robot will interpret it as on. Now, what we can also do is we can simulate outputs. So for DO13, if I simulate this on, only the robot thinks it's on. The PLC does not see this as on unless the robot has actually turned it on. This is something to keep in mind. You do not need to actually simulate outputs to turn them on. You can just turn them on pretty easily, unless you have something in the code that is constantly changing its state. Now, with simulated bits, they could be a major issue if you forget that you had them on. If DI8 was saying it's clear to go into the press and you had that simulated to run a test, but you forgot to turn that off before running in auto, you could have a robot crash. Simulated bits are one of the main causes of crashes. Now you have a few options. First off, if you go to I/O and you go to the cell I/O, there is an option right here to say that an input is simulated and an output is simulated. So I could configure this up so that when an input is simulated, we want to turn on digital output 20. And when an output is simulated, we want to turn on digital output 21. Now, with this, it has actually been shown that you can have these both the same output. So I can actually say digital output 20 for both, and it will still work. It'll turn on digital output 20 if either of them is simulated. This is something to send to the PLC, or maybe you should check at the beginning of your program loop just to verify this. It's always good to have this data sent to the PLC so that the master system is aware of a simulated bit. Now right now I'd have to actually cycle the power for these to work, but I don't really need that right now. What I will do though is I will press function, next page, and unsimulate all. When I press this, it'll unsimulate all simulated bits that I have. So that's something you can do when you have finished your test and you want to make sure you didn't miss any simulated bits that you might have turned on. You can just say function, next page, unsimulate all.